Alright, these are my skis thus far that I made up north in Minnesota in Grand Marais at the North House Folk School under the guidance of Mark Hansen and his assistant Ian Andrews, who lives in a yurt and makes yurts and teaches classes out there as well. And he is a ski maker. And so these are my skis that I've stained with pine tar, and I've waxed the back sides with beeswax and tallow. And so what I want to do is I'm going completely traditional. Some of the peoples in class did some interesting bindings, some really traditional Saami bindings that went drilled into the side laterally, just kind of a hole, and then a big strap around that came around this part here, and then you put the lacing of the binding there. But there were other options that I saw that were very primitive, and I think in a real quick and dirty circumstance, if you have a decent blade or sharp tool, that you could fell a tree and make a reasonably straight plank. You could steam it and get the bend. Maybe even put some camber in here. And then, but the problem would be, to me, would be drilling perfectly straight down through the width of the ski. And I thought that would be a little bit more troublesome to do if you didn't have the most ultimate of modern tools. So I chose this method, which I've got 4 holes here. After finding out where my foothold would be, my foot placement would be, and I'm going to use rawhide bindings to put them in. And I was given some rawhide bindings. They've been in water, basically in the. They were wet down, and then I put them in the refrigerator in a plastic bag and just kept them in there, and they've kept and stayed. But it's just basically cowhide rawhide strips that I'm going to have to cut down and make traditional bindings out of. In the meantime, though, what I'm going to do is I've got just some treated leather to do sizing of the bindings that I'm going to use. And I'm going to there's a way that I observed in the class to lace these up so that they can fit your boot. So I'm going to walk through that, and then I'm going to cut the rawhide into the appropriate strips. Basically, I'm going to make a pattern out of this leather, this treated leather, the black stuff, and then I'm going to cut the necessary strips, lengths, and insert points on the rawhide, and then lace that through. And then hopefully, if the snow permits, we get an opportunity to get outside and give these a whirl. Alright, so for the bindings, there's 4 holes here, and I'm using leather to use because I don't really have any rawhide of just available, tons of it. So I want to make sure I have a pattern to use. And so I'm using this to make a pattern of how much I will need for both skis. This has too much stretch to it, I think. So I don't know how well this would operate under the freezing conditions. At any rate, there's 4 holes here that I think, from a primitive standpoint, I could drill in using a pump drill or even a hand drill to go all the way through the width, or the width of the depth, I should say, of the skis. And then on the back side, the grooves were cut in, the coves were cut in along for the most part, along where the holes were, or rather, the holes aligned with the coves, so that the leather, this is about, I'd say about a ½ inch wide, sits into the coves. Okay, the coves are basically your traction in the snow. So this is the first part of this configuration, and so I tucked this in here and pulled the longer end through. Next, I took the running end of my pattern strap and ran it through the second top hole. And what I want to do now is I want to make sure I have the right height, so I don't pull it too tightly. And so what I have here is I've got my pair of mucklucks that I would wear with these skis, and I've got this this right muckluck that this is one of my first that I made. It's buffalo hide and canvas with a felted wool liner inside, but I've also stuffed it with newspaper, so it's got some form to it about the size of my actual foot. So what I want to do is I want to run the strap over so I can know exactly how much I should have and what kind of play I'll get. And then I want to take the running end of the strap and run it through the second hole here, or the fourth hole here. So next, after I've threaded the running end through the fourth hole here, I want to pull it up and through. And in the designs that I saw, there's a slit cut so that the actual strap goes through the slit. I don't want to cut on my template here just yet. I'll actually save that for the actual rawhide. I'm just looking for the length. So I just folded this over so it's like a V shape, and this will run around, and it would actually go through. It would actually go through another slit in this end, and then it'll run around the ankle. From this angle, it would go through a slit in this end. That was the initial start, and then it'll run around, holding the ankle in place, and then lashing on or through a hole at this juncture here, in the back juncture. Alright, here I just made a loose knot here because I don't want to cut in my pattern strap here, but just so that it'll hold. So that's the configuration on that side, on the back holes. Around the ankle, probably a little bit higher up here, and then there would be another slit cut here, and then it would go through, and then this is where the binding would wrap around and tie off, like so. So it looks like the length of black strap that I have here is about what I'm looking for, and this is more or less the configuration of lacing and binding and strapping the foot into these wooden skis.